Today we have a guest movie by a young collector restoring a 1956 Record brand Soviet tabletop television. That's record as in record setting or the best and greatest, not like record player, record brand. It's a whole journey from acquisition, power up, failures, troubleshooting, bringing it up slow, and repair, getting it working much the same way I do. He's a big fan of my resurrection videos, and it really shows. It blows my mind how much he's learned from them. I meet so many brilliant young people who love vintage electronics and are actually really good at repairing them. This is just one example. So welcome Umsi featuring his kitten Bobbin in restoring a 1956 Soviet C-cam black and white television to operating condition.
Well, it seems like I got it. It's freaking heavy, and I waiting for a taxi. I don't drive. Some people in Russia don't. It's not like I can't do it, but I refuse to take lessons. And also I kinda scared of operating a vehicle. Well, let's wait for a taxi. Seller gave me a chair just to see this on it. It has it lost the knob for channel select and fine tune, but I already found one for sale. I'll be getting it. It was around $10, I think, with shipping. Today we will work on another old TV. This one seems to have been stuck on a cat channel. Wow. The picture really pops out, and also it has missing knobs, and overall condition is kinda lacking, if you ask me. But the picture is very lively. I can almost believe it's a cat. Hello, Umsis here. I'm not the one you would ordinarily hear on this channel. I'm from Russia, and today we are taking a look at this early Soviet TV set. It is Rекord. It was first designed in 1955 and then revised a couple of times. But the one we have in here is the original 55's model. It has 5 VHF channels and also some FM bands. FM bands are accessible by changing the setting further than the channels itself, and tuning is achieved by turning fine tune, but as you can see, fine tune and channel knobs are missing on my unit. I already ordered them, and they'll arrive sometime in the next week, but we don't really need them right now. To be specific, this one called Телевизионный радиоприёмник Рекорд. Television radio receiver Record. That's it. There is nothing, no number, no anything. Just record. It's in pretty good shape overall, but it's no mean virgin. It had his fair share of work being done on it, as indicated by missing screw over here, and opened potted screw over there. It was originally potted with wax or some another kind of material, but no more. Also, let's take a look at what we have on the right hand side on the controls. This is vertical linearity, this is vertical size, this is horizontal hold, this is Oh no, it's vertical hold, and this is horizontal hold, and this is horizontal size. Down here, it's a voltage selector for mains. It can operate on 220 or 127 volts, and also similar one is over there on the left hand side. Why this is the case, I don't know. We will find out. Also, there is timbre knob. It means tone in Russian. And since this is a hot chassis design, it has a warning about not grounding the chassis. Chassis не заземлять. Do not ground the chassis. And also do not remove knobs. Presumably because you can touch the chassis without knobs. I remove the one screw holding the backing together. Let's undo it. It's like not a particle board. I don't know what the name of this material in English, but you can see it on all kinds of old equipment, radios, TVs, and other. I don't want to force it, because it can snap these adjustments, so I need to finagle it. It has a locking type connector on it, so you can't just run it without backing. Also, it smells a bit wet. I think it spent some time somewhere damp. It's not a good thing, but, well, what you can expect from such old equipment. I changed to a wider mode, and the chassis is held inside the case by, it seems like 4 machine screws. Also, it utilizes 2 vertical parts of the chassis. And here is the high voltage cage. Let's try and disassemble it further. I'll show you around when we go there. I'm using authentic Soviet screwdrivers to do this job. Not like I need, but it's cool to do it the old way. I undid all 4 corners, and now the case is loose. I think it can just slide off to the towards the wall. And it seems like it will just slide off, but it's a bit scary, because the CRT doesn't have any anti-implosion measures to it, so it's a bit sketchy. And we got it off. This is first look at the chassis. It has not soldered connectors, but welded. Let's talk about how this thing is assembled. It's not a soldering job. It was welded together. I dusted off this area, and you can see these beads are not in fact solder. They are melted metal. And almost every connection in here is welds, not solders. Resistors with coils on them. It seems like it's very low. How would you say it in English? It seems like it's a very low volume, electrical volume capacitors, like picofarads or even less. At least it looks like it. and this is the caps that need reforming. I think the outer shell is one side of a foil, and the central point is the other one. I don't remember which one is which, what is negative and what is positive, but we will try to run it on a lamp, just a light bulb, increasing step by step wattage of the said light bulb. Also, as you can see, the capacitors in here, like this one is 4700 picofarads at 10%. It's a paper and foil capacitor filled with oil and crimped in a ceramic tube, so is hermetically sealed. I don't think this ever go bad. At least the people who worked on sets like this tell that they are not a problem. These ones, electrolytes, they are, but others are not. And also the resistors can go bad, but usually they alright, even if a bit off spec. Here you can see bigger variety of the same cap. It's a 0.1 microfarads at 10%, 200 volts. Here you can see how dirty the radio cloth really is. I don't know if I want to peel it off and clean it. It seems like risking ruin it. But maybe it can do with a little dusting. Same situation on the left hand side. It has nice big capacitors that we will bring up slowly. I made this contraption for it. It's just a light bulb tester. Some old Soviet diodes. Don't know why they're here, because it uses high voltage rectifier tube for the CRT. Maybe they're for power, I don't know. Nice big resistors. I'll also will clean up it a bit. I know Shango is against making a beautiful corpse, but I'd like to work on something a little bit cleaner than that. It has fair share of web and some dead bugs, or maybe alive, which is a little bit scary, but we will deal with it. Also, it seems like it's a pretty thick layer of glass, presumably to protect from imploding CRT, in the case if it would implode, of course. The whole construction is very sturdy and well made, but I will touch it with gloves from now on, with branded blue gloves. I don't like touching the old dust. Also, let's take a look at high voltage cage. The driver tube is a 6P13C Soviet tube. This one looks original. Well, at least the date is somewhere around that time. The damper tube, I think this is a damper tube. It's a 6C10P. I got another one of those, and also I've got another one of driver tube. And wait for it, another high voltage rectifier for this set. So if any of these tubes not good, we will have a chance to fire it up. Let me remove this tube and I'll show you the flyback closer. Also, you might find it interesting, the wire is not a rubber variety, it's cloth wound. It was red sometime in 50s, I think. Let's try and remove this tube with one hand. Are you entertained? Let's watch me break this tube. Well, I didn't break it. Let's see if we can make out the year. 60. It's 11th week or month of 60. And the tube itself is from 59. So it very well may be original tube. Also, somebody had problems with this socket. It seems like it. And here is my cat. Old TVs is no place for cats, so I'll get her off. Let's continue. The flyback here is not potted in wax. It has plastic rings on top of it. Let's say that. I kinda forgot how they called. It seems like a high voltage cage can only be removed from the bottom. We need to unscrew this to get it out. Well, let's not do it right now. Let's clean it first and then take it out. It's kind of hard to tell if it's a low or high hour set because of all the dirt that accumulated inside of it. But I don't see that much of a soot on a flyback or surrounding areas. Also, the high voltage cap has no cap. I don't know, maybe it was normal for these types of TV to not have caps. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. Also, the rear cap seems a little bit brown, but it doesn't seem severely discolorated, so maybe there is some life left on this CRT. Also, I think you would love how the sleeves on the tubes are made in Soviet Russia. You just twist it and you can get it off, just like that. It's even spring-loaded, so it applies some pressure to the tubes. Like this. It's a very neat design, in my opinion. Let's see. This one kinda not in a socket. Interesting. Well, maybe that's why they need springs. Also, obviously, that one does not need a shield on it, but it's still spring-loaded, so it wouldn't go flying. I took off the glass front panel, and the cardboard insert just folds out of it. It was like that. And yes, it seems like the bezel, this thing, just dried out and shrank. So I think I would just widen up this gap and glue it back together. Well, let's continue with disassembling. And this is how it looks from the front without a glass and with this panel off. Also, in here you can see 1 watt dynamic head. And it's not a field coil speaker. It's a permanent magnet, and I think this one is cobalt. The magnet is made of cobalt, and the speaker itself is made in April of 1959, I think, and the model is 41 GD 9. I don't know really what the symbol in circle means, like the speaker and 100. Don't really know. Also, it can be disconnected. It's permanently wired. You can only unsolder it. Maybe it has some type of connector over there, but I don't see any. And as I said, this tube is unprotected. It's not a roundy, it's kind of rectangular, and also it has no implosion protection. So it's extremely dangerous for me to touch it. I think if I touch it lightly, it will cooperate with me. But if I bash it even slightly, I think it will burst with a million pieces. I may be wrong, don't take my word for it, but I fear this thing. Also, it's mounted on a rubber tabs, it seems, all around the tube, and it has tightening bolts. I will not touch it. And here also. It's not an implosion band, it's not a protection. If you ever work on these sets, be extremely cautious of the picture tube. Also, here you can see all the dust accumulated on the screen over the years. I just touch it lightly and the clean spot appears. If my phone will focus on the screen, you can see how ununiform the luminophore, the phosphor is. It was in early days for Soviet tube manufacturing, so this kind of finish is to be expected. But I think it's a really cool effect, like popcorn walls. I unmounted the speaker from front. It just sits here like this. Also, it doesn't seem to rub, so I can lightly press it, and it doesn't rub. So let's set it aside and look at the cloth more closely. So you can see how shiny and gold color it once was, and how it is now. Well, I think I can clean it a bit with a brush, just like that. Well, it's more of a silver color up there. I really like it. I mean, original color. But the faded one is alright too, I guess. Let's try peel it out. Nope, it's glued. It really is glued down, so I thought maybe I can flip it around, you know. like this, but I can't. So we will do with what we have here. Let's not run before we can walk. I think we need to bring up slowly this beauty. Also, the frame is very sturdy and has holes on either side, on this side and also on this side. Presumably, so you can transport it without a case, and it even has folded up corners, just not to slice your hand when you're picking it up. Someone really thought it out. The controls and this part behind them are made out of bakelite or carbolite, one of two. I discovered it when I started to wipe it down. It has a distinct smell to it. Some people say it's unpleasant, but I don't really mind it. I took the brightness knob off and it was stuck very nicely in here. As you can see, it has a piece of spring steel inside, just to tension the knob on the shaft. And it seems like in the past somebody took the knob off and lost this little steel spring. So now they just change it to a bit of isolation from an old cable and stuck it back. Well, I think it worked for some time for someone, but I don't really like this type of repair. And this piece is reinstalled. In cleaning with Windex, I seem to smeared a little bit of lettering. It's like recessed and then painted inside, but it's still clearly readable, so I will not worry about it. One day I may paint it back if I really feel like I need to do it. Since I'm planning on bringing it slowly on a light bulb, I'm taking all the tubes out. This is 6C10P from 64, so it's a replacement tube. It doesn't correspond with the date on CRT itself, so somebody changed it. Probably it was in use a very long time. Let's set it aside and remember that original from this TV had this stamp on here. Can't really make out what it means. Maybe. Don't know. Let's set it aside. And also it utilizes a very strange way to mount this tube. Let's try and unplug it really carefully. You can see I undid the socket. Socket just hangs on the wires. Let's try and get it out. I'm really scared about it. Let me do it off camera. This bezel doesn't clean very well. You can see marks and all sorts of discoloration. It from damp cloth. Like you can see how dirty it got from the time I brushed it lately, but from far it looks alright. Not that big of a deal. Also, I widened this gap and glued back this piece. Don't know how would you describe it. It's like the half of the insulation from a wire. And it was once glued. I just reapplied some glue and like worked it in a bit. So it was absolutely unnecessary, but I thought while I'm at it, I might just do it. Well, it is reassembled again. I left out the high voltage cage because it is not needed, because we are not running any high voltage right now. We just bringing it up on a light bulb. And also I disconnected the high voltage rectifier. It is 1C11P, and this one is from 77, made in USSR. So somebody ran this television, presumably from 15.9 to 77, and maybe even a little bit more. So it had around 20 years of life. I seriously doubt if the tube is any good. But we will see. At least we will hear some noises, I think. I took a block with fuses from the back. It involved unscrewing it, popping it out, and screwing it back together. Also, I checked continuity to this rather beaten up plug, and it does checks out. Do not do this. This is hot chassis set, meaning there might be 220 volts potential present on the metal structure. I'm doing it only to see if heater would glow on the picture bulb. I can't really see it with the back on. So let's plug it in and see if we got something in there. Well, now we kinda in frame. Let's try and plug it in. The lamp doesn't light up, but I don't see any heater. Let's try and finagle it. Nothing. Oh, shoot. I probably should switch it on. I don't know if it's switched. Let's unplug it. And yeah, it was off. That's good. That means I'm dumb. Nothing more. Let's step back and we got full brightness. Not a good sign, actually. Seems like it has a full short somewhere. I don't like it. But it comes. Since my cat is sleeping, I'll just try and run this without backing. I will notice if she'll come close.
It's the next day, and as you can see, the lamp is getting dimmer, and my cat is meowing. Let's wait a little bit longer. It would be so much nicer if I would bring analog readout, but well, we will do with what we have. The voltage pretty much settled at 117. But I still think I'll let it sit for about an hour more. And you have to remember that this thing can run on to 20, so it basically half of the line voltage right now. It climbed to 120. And dances around this number. The light doesn't dim noticeably, but there is like a measurable change in voltage. We'll wait another hour and I'll change the bulb to 85, or rather 95 watt one. Well, I don't think it's going anywhere. Let's try and step up the game a little bit. It's hot. This one is 60 watts and this one is 95. Let's see what difference does it make, if any. Well, it's not that bright as it was, and I think it already dimmed. And now we have 154 and climbing. Well, now it's not. I'll let it sit for about an hour on this bulb, and then we will go to 200 watt one. Also, these light bulbs are brand spanking new. Russia still makes them. Modern Light Sources makes it. This design is over, I think, 100 years old. Modern Light Sources. Yep. So modern, I can't believe it. Well, now it looks so very promising. Last time I installed this bulb, it was at full brightness, and now it like barely glowing, and the voltage is going up to around 160. It dances around, but it's very promising. Also, I don't know if I made a video of it, but I glued back together this thing bezel around tube. As I expected, it shrank down, so I don't think this gap was here from the start, but maybe I'll get some tubing and glue it down in the middle. It would involve taking glass off and all the cabinet, but well, if it would work, it would worth it to restore this little imperfection. I don't see it changing much anymore. Let's take another bulb in. This one going out, and this one going in. 200 watts. It's still on a lamp, and let's plug it in. We have some gauge and 206 volts and climbing. Nothing from the speaker. Let's see. The tube is nice and bright in here. And also I can feel that it's warm inside. Like especially here. The plastics is warm to the touch. Well, I'll let it sit for about an hour or more, and we will hit bypass. Also, it didn't start brightly, but it dimmed a lot. Check this out. When I turn the channel selector knob to channel 1, 2 or 3, the filament on the tube stops glowing, and I need pliers to do it because it's very stiff. And when I put it back on a channel, the filament starts to glow again. Also, it uses 211 volts, so I think we can bypass it and go raw. Full line, it's 220 plus or minus 10 volts, so no hum, no hiss, no nothing. But it makes some noise when I try to power it on. I don't think it has the Gauss coil, but it does make some sound. Shut up. No life from a tuner. Let's switch to a radio. Nothing. Well, we don't have vertical populated. Maybe some of the voltages derives from there, but I don't believe that it's a case. Let's wait a little bit and I'll try to populate the tubes. Actually, you know what? I think I can hear faint hum from the speaker. Let's try and take a listen. And now I will turn it off. I don't know if you hear it, but I can hear it distinctly. Let's try and inspect that if the tubes are getting hot. You can clearly see that the filament is cooling off. It's warm. This one is. This one is very hot. Caps are fine. They're hot, but not burning hot. This one is warm. Let me get this on properly. All right. Let's check these ones. It's a tuner tubes. Tuner. Oh, it's nice and toasty. Another one. This one is hot too. Let's see. Here it's warm. So it seems like all the tubes are getting power, or rather at least all the boards. This is also a tube, And this one, yeah, it's even hot to the touch. Let's see what we have here. This is a cap. It's not hot, it's warm to the touch. Well, I'd say now we need to try and get the horizontal working, as the high voltage is derived from there. It's very interesting what we can do with it. I think I'll wait a little bit and then we will try. Well, I tried to power it on another time with bypass, and it started to make horrible noises. And also it smelled kinda funny. Let's try to get some entertainment from it. I'm wearing gloves once again, because I don't want to be shocked by it. It's on a lamp, and it's off right now. Let's turn it. Nothing? Really? Cat, please don't go near. We don't need a cat in here. Is it? Ah. Alright. Riding on the short bus. Eat it. Let's plug it in. Make sure it's off. Yes, it's off. And let's turn it on. Now lamp is illuminated and it makes a noise. It sounds like an open filter capacitor for the audio circuit. But it doesn't get scratches or anything. I don't really smell anything funny right now. Let's take it off and see they're glowing. And are they? I can say. Yes, they are. I can see it. Do you? Let's hit bypass and see what will blow out. Nothing. Audio changes. I hear some activity. We have tuning. It receives something. It's a radio. Tube doesn't illuminate. Let's. It has dirty pot, it seems. And did it just die on me? It has something. Let's change a station. Well, band. I will need pliers for it. Next one. Nothing. And next one.
I'll definitely need to clean the tuner. Let's try TV channel. That's FM2, FM1, TV. We have gauge. Do we have activity? Not really. Let's wait. But it can be dirty, really dirty inside of it. But it's kind of exciting. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I will flip it off and try to clean the tuner. I really want to hear. Nice. Nice. Just look at it. That's what I call an entertainment value. I hope you like it. Nice. I paid money for it, you know? Nice. We will change it, of course, and power it on again. It seems like I didn't bake it enough. Or maybe it just was that bad. I don't really want to breathe it in. I don't know what they used, so I'll be back when I'll open all windows. I took the cabinet off, and as you can see, this is that stuff that was inside our capacitor, and also it leaked on my table. Disgusting. And here it is. It's hot to the touch. This one's not, but this one is. I really hope I don't get cancer. But oh well. What you can do. Let me try and get it out of here and clean the rest of this shit. But it was magnificent and probably unnecessary. But as you can hear, when it was conducting, the tuner worked for a brief while. So I think we will change it. What it was even? Who are you? 120 microfarads at 300 volts? I think it is. And also, it seems like it's not welded. It's actually soldered in place. And you can see how it unmounted itself. These ones are not even warm to the touch. Let's clean it. Nice. Well, now you see why Shango doing it outside. And also, this is K92N from 5th week or month of 59. So, and here you also can see where it vented. It doesn't really meant to vent, and it's really boiling even now. It has like 5 minutes, and I washed my hands. Well, gloves, you know. Nice. All that goop.
This one is okay. This one is too. Well, it's a great opportunity for me. I will spray all the controls on it. And I think we will come back to this, well, powering it on. We will come back to it a little bit later. Probably around 2 days I need to work, and then I can get more of these capacitors, and I think I'll get all of them just to be safe. I will not change them right away, but I'd like to have them ready if I need it. Wow. On the first attempt, that's a nice entertainment, if you ask me. Let's try and see the schematic about it, what it does and why it blew. Said little capacitor. I mean, not that little. 120 microfarads at 300 volts. It has resistor on it. Yes, it looks like a resistor. 1 kilo at 1 watt. And yep, the fuse seems to be blown. Nice coating on it. It's like insides are vaporized. Let's try and get a new one. I have some spares. Let's see what we can find here. Not here. There. It's too big. It's somewhere around right, but I would like to get 2 amps, 1 amp, too little, 2 amps, 250 volts, right stuff for it, as indicated here. Ah, don't lose it. "220 volts, 2 amps. I installed a new fuse in a fuse holder. Let's check that it's off, and it is off. And let's plug it in again. Preferably with the right arm, so I can actually do it. Yep, it's connected. It's offline, and now through the lamp, and nothing? Really? What? I don't really understand it. Let me see. Seems like the diode bridge was also damaged during this event, let's say. So I will desolder it and change the diodes. I don't have them on hand, so yes, I will need to buy a bunch of them. But they're cheap, so not really a problem. It seems like tuner was never opened. It still has lacquer over the joint. Well, let's try and undo it. It seems like I'll not be able to unscrew it without taking the whole assembly off. So I took the case back off, and I have 4 screws. One here, another one there, and 2 more. This one. Well, let's go to town with it. I was able to take the cover off without completely disassembling
this whole structure, because I needed to detach the wires from the tuner, and I really don't want to do it. So I'll need to clean all those little contacts. They should be shiny. And this is how it should look. Also, it has a cam and switch for the CRT, because it was not running with channel selector switched to the radio portion. So I'll not really able to take the whole assembly off and clean the stationary contacts. You can see them right at the bottom. If my camera would focus, they are right there, and I would really love to take it off, but I don't think it's viable. Let's hope that they just clean on themselves. I used those two cans. This is contact cleaner, and this is like a contact lube, just to protect them from oxidation a little bit longer. And now it turns much more smoothly. I know you can't feel it from a video, but I'm not putting that much force anymore, just to turn it. Well, now we need to wait to get the knobs for it. Also, you can see how fine-tune is working in there. Let's try and fix it relatively low voltage part of the radio portion of this TV. I got myself this book on TV receivers, as they were called, and my cat also helping me. This is from let me see, from 1963, so it's 4 years after the production of this particular TV set, and this is the third edition, so it doesn't focus on this TV set particularly. It talks about a bit newer stuff, but it still has the needed schematics. This is it, and let's see what blown apart last time I powered it on. So this is our mains power. It goes from one for live to neutral through a capacitor safety cap, and then it propagates to the voltage selector 220 or 127 volts, and in 127 volt configuration it goes and connects the wires in such way that the selenium rectifiers, there were 2 of it originally, becomes a doubler circuit. So it's essentially supplies it with around 240 to 50 volts, and then it goes from here as usual. Also, it has the same configuration for the vertical and horizontal sweeps in this. But what's interesting, they used discrete diodes in this section, like germaniums, and all of them are shunted with resistors. Why they didn't do the same scheme here, I don't know, but the little homemade PCB with diodes and resistors are very similar to this one. Let me get it. And this is it. All diodes are shorted straight through, so I'll be changing it to something newer, and I'll get rid of the resistors altogether in parallel with diodes. So you can see it's a very similar story on here. 4 diodes, 4 resistors, center tap for the doubler circuit, and just top and bottom connectors. These ones were not soldered, they're just to connect this whole thing together. And the PCB, this sheet of electrical paper, I think, maybe it's Getinax, but I might be wrong. These ones were a part of the selenium rectifier. This is another part. It covered it like so. It had them on either side, and selenium pellets were situated in series inside of here, and there was a second one too. And also it talks about doubling somewhere here. This is this sentence. So let's try and rebuild the rectifier, change the blown out cap, and try to turn it on again. I also mark the wires where they go, so I don't think we will have trouble reconnecting those back. I am disassembling this old rectifier, and those leads aren't even hooked, so they just laid next to each other and blobbed with solder. Well, I guess it works, but I would made a solid mechanical connection before soldering them on back. And in this spot also I have one more to go, but yes, it seems like it was made by a novice. Well, I'm novice all by myself, so all those diodes are now shorts. It reads like a resistor with 0.08 ohms to it in every direction. And yes, they weren't J-hooked, they were just soldered together. And resistors, still nice 1 watt resistors. I will keep them for future use. This is that homemade quote-unquote PCB. You can see where leads were by the dust pattern. I will reuse it, but I'll clean it before. Don't know why, just why not. And also I'll be using those resistors and those diodes. It's a 2 ampere 1 kilovolt diode, rectifier diode, so I'll be needing only 2 of those, but spares are always welcome, so I'll get more. Let's build it and I'll show it to you. And this is how my rebuild looks. It has 2 diodes, 2 resistors. This is 470 ohms 2 watts resistors,
the leads are twisted and then soldered in. So now we have, let's try to do it one arm. Mode. Now we have drop in this direction, and we should get no drop in other direction. Let's see. Yep, nothing. Maybe if I would connect it, it would get me something. Nope, nothing. As it should be. It's really awkward trying to measure something with the camera in my hand. Well, as you can see, it has no drop in this direction. So let's install it and see what we can see. Well, I mounted it in, but I didn't solder it on yet. Shengo thinks that resistors and second diode isn't necessary at all. Like one 2 amps 1000 volt diode would be plenty sufficient for this set. But one thing I wanted to preserve the doubler ability to switch the inputs from 220 volts to 127. I know it's totally redundant at this time, like we don't even have 127 volts supply in the Russia right now. But I just didn't feel like removing any features from this set, so I decided to go this route. And as our Russian peers who dealt with the tube sets say, the resistors needed to smooth out the initial spike in voltage to the capacitors, and the whole like scheme, or how do you say it, this contraption wouldn't be so noisy as if not those two resistors. Well, comments are open. You can argue in them. I will read it, of course. So yes, let's solder it in. I will use soldering gun to do it. It's an old Soviet production thing. It has a light to indicate that it's working. Well, you can feel that it's working. It's like shaking in hand, vibrating, and it's rated to 65 watts. So I think it would be plentiful enough to solder those wires back. Well, let's do it. And what is it? My cat jumped on my audio setup. My kitten. I don't want you here. You would fell and broke something. It's not the place to run around. Шпулька. Nice kitten. Just for people who don't know what's inside of a foil and paper cap. It's like a roll of paper, then foil, then paper, then foil, all neatly stuck in a metal can. Outer and inner foils. Well, ends of foil. No. And for the people who never cut open one of those, this is how it looks. Paper, then foil, then paper, then another layer of foil, and all rolled and stuffed inside of a metal can. And I was wrong, it's K2N, not K9. Well, cat. What are you doing? Say meow. Шпулька. Шпулька. No? And this is how it looks outside of a can. Paper, foil, and it's all drenched in some sort of electrolyte. And this is pretty long also. Unravels and unravels and unravels. I would like to save a foil, but it stinks, so I'll probably just get rid of it altogether. Well, it ain't pretty, but nobody could do better than me, because it's mine. And there is nobody around to do this better than me. So it is how it is. I covered the terminals in electrical tape just so nothing would short them. This is the negative to the chassis. It's wound around the part, so it has mechanical connection, and also I soldered it in. This acts like a bit of a strain relief here, just so it doesn't get yanked. This is my crappy attempt at J-hooking and soldering that original mess of wires. I'll put an electrical tape around it just so it doesn't short to the chassis, because it's not rigid as here, for example, anymore. So it can like do this essentially. So I'll need to isolate it a little bit more. Let me do it, and I'll clean up, and we will try to power it on again. This time, hopefully, no smoke. Well, now just to recap, yes, pun intended, we changed the halfway rectifier and the one cap that blew out. This is his remains. So I think it's time to power it on. Let me just breathe in a little bit of clean air before something blows out again. I installed new fuses in the fuse holders. This fuse didn't blow, and the other didn't also. We will not get anything on the screen, no high voltage, no nothing, because the high voltage part of it is disassembled and the tubes are taken out, so we're looking only at a radio portion right now. So let's plug it in and see what would happen. Well, it's off right now. Let's stand back. Well, it didn't immediately blow out. I hear something. Let me finagle with it. But it didn't blew any fuses, and also I don't think it shorted the halfway. Well, as you can see from the failed powering up attempt, this is discolored now. It was nice light blue, and now it has a bit of peace stain yellow in the middle, as this one does too. So they are not capable of handling all the tubes, so good to know. 2 watts are probably not sufficient, and now I'm doing what Shengo told me to do in the first place. Just put one higher voltage diode. This one, as we discussed earlier, is for 1 kilovolt, so 1000 volts, and essentially I just disabled all of these circuits. It now just across just one of those. Let's reconnect voltmeter and try to power it on again and see what we will have this time around. Remember, we had around 100 volts there before, 108 if I remember correctly. Well, I don't know what happened to it, but now it does this. Well, need to wait for tubes to warm up. So you can hear it. It has something, and I can fine-tune it. Let's change the channel. Well, radio band as it is right now. Fifth radio channel. Can't hear a thing. Some activity is here. Let's hook it up to the signal generator. I really want to hear a beep. Probably some dodgy tube, I don't know. Well, let me set it up. I ripped the antenna connector of that cable. Well, why not do it? And I changed the channel selector to the first channel. Let's hear it. Yep. That's it. At least radio is here. Don't know about video portion, but audio. Nice. I like it. Let's try and lower. Well, how do you think? Can we move to the high voltage part yet? Well, not today, honestly. I don't want to deal with it today. The tubes are hot, the voltage is running high, I mean B+. Let's check it. $176, still high. But we have some workage here, so quite nice, in my opinion. It would be good to like receive something, but I don't think we have anything yet on the air now. Third channel is kind of dead, but we honestly just need first. Fifth channel. Nothing. Well, as expected. Radio. It's on lower FM band. Frequency modulation, but the band isn't lining up. And it seems like it's woken. The amp is nice and hot now. But I really don't like running those tubes so high. Oops. First channel again. I'm impressed. With high loud it is. And it's clear also. Well, for a tube set in a modern world with all kinds of interference, as a reward for getting it somewhat functional, you will see a cat. The cat. Mine cat. Well, I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. So let's try and populate the tubes in a high voltage part. As we assessed before, the radio is kinda works, more or less. So let's start from the high voltage rectifier. It's from 64. Looks good. Let's install it. It's that socket. So let's pause and I'll resume when I'll put it in. I also use the exit as we go. Well, contact cleaner, but you know, the rectifier is installed. Next one is the damper and the driver tube, well, high voltage output. The output tube is, let's use the old one, just in case it didn't start the first time. It has kinda chewed up legs. Well, what can you do? Let's spray it a little bit. And we will spray that socket as well, just for the good measure. Like this. And now the damper tube. It goes in here. Which one should I use? This one from 57. This one from 74. And this one is the one that was in it originally. It's from 64, so let's use that one. So only high voltage rectifier. I don't really want to risk myself getting near the high voltage part, so if tubes get cremated, I got more. Nothing really bad will happen if they expire on me. So I forgot to put spring back. Let me do it. And now I lost it. Let me get it back. And I need spring. And I need to tension it. Yep. Like it. So I think I'll just power it on, and we'll see how high voltage will behave. I want to put a cage around it, but just for entertainment value I would not. Just to see if something happens to it. I don't want harsh radiation to be exposed to it, but well, let's power it on. It's dark. Let's put the brightness and contrast to the lowest. It's on the lowest. The tubes are glowing. I don't hear anything right now, but well, let's try brightness. Nothing. We have nothing. No workage here. No brightness, no contrast. It has something. Seems like vertical. Well, sounds like vertical. Nothing. Let's turn on the light. At least this one. I'm turning contrast right now, and I also hear high-pitched whine on the brink of my hearing. Like, I think it should work. Nothing. Well, I definitely hear high-pitched whine from it. Wow. It was quite a spark. Let's try it again, shall we? It's a good spark. Really good spark. Violent, I would say. Well, let's refer to the back of the unit. Vertical linearity, vertical size, vertical hold, horizontal hold. We need horizontal. Let's try and work it a little bit. Let's see where it's set. Around middle. Should the high voltage rectifier light up? I don't see it being lit, but you can hear the whine. Let's check if it... Yep, it changes. It squeals. And I think I can see the glowage. No brightness though. The heater is on. For some reason, contrast makes an interference. Don't know why, but it does. No brightness at all. I need kilowatt meter to measure if we have something there, but we definitely have wine. Well, the story so far. I populated all the tubes and the high voltage rectifier also, and I'm too scared to do it on a live set, so I unplugged it, and you can see it has a little spark. The tube discharged through this isolated screwdriver, so it tells me there is at least some high voltage getting through to the tube, and also horizontal oscillation is working fine. It's working, right? Like I can hear 15 kilohertz and change, and the app on my phone also confirms it. So we have a working high voltage. Maybe it's out of spec. Maybe, I don't know. Now I want to tackle well, I want to finagle this yoke connection, clean it, reinstall it, and also I want to very carefully disconnect the tube, clean the pins, and reinstall the cap back on it. And this would involve flipping it over. And as you can see, there is stuff on left side, there is stuff on right side. I can't just flip it like so and then another time. So I'll need to pick it up, get it on something soft, and roll it through a front facing panel. So like that. 2 times. Flip and another flip. And so let me do that. I really hope I don't smash this beautiful glass. I sprayed dioxide on it, but I didn't see any problems with it even before. So like, it's alright. Nothing wrong with the pins and the cap itself. I slid back the, how do you call it, the housing of this cap, but it all fits nicely. So I don't know. Let's try and see, maybe it would make it happier. I don't understand it. The contrast knob makes hissing sound. I'm turning it now, right now. Maybe it lowers the B plus so low the radio portion starts to work. I don't know. Well, I'll definitely change the halfway rectifier to something more appropriate, something which doesn't makes 300 volts DC on the output. But also on the unplugged set, if I try to discharge the tube, it makes a spark. So I would presume the high voltage is here. I installed the new output high voltage tube. I mean this one. That's the original from 60. P13C, по-моему, if I remember correctly. And so there is some high voltage, at least. But no video still. I am too stupid for YouTube stuff, it seems. All those tubes in a radio channel in IF is not lit, so they are not powered. But the rectifier is giving me enough voltage, so it should work with that. But somehow it just doesn't work, and I don't know why. Maybe some of the resistors went open while I messed with it. Found that the transformer for the filaments isn't secured to the chassis. Maybe it's the reason why I don't have any glowage on the radio side. I mean, IF and all that good stuff. Seems I found the problem with the radio portion. This lead is where the transformer is connected to the chassis, and so it was loose. I resoldered it, and now it makes kinda some signs of life. But let's plug it in, and let's change the damper tube to something newer. It's not a damper tube, but that is, I think the original one is inside, and I think I heard something cracking in here, so I'll be changing this one. I changed the damper tube to the 74 one, so let's try it again. Well, it would be nice if I'd remember to plug it in. Another try. So heater is glowing. The high voltage is glowing also, and I think I can hear it. Well, but does the damper tube glow? Seems like it. The amp is still warming up. Well, now I clearly can hear it. It's screaming. Let's see if we can see something on the screen. Nothing. I'm rotating the brightness and contrast. Not a goddamn thing. Let's turn off this light. Nothing. Let's see if we have high voltage right now. Yes, we clearly have high voltage. It's quite scared me. Let's do it again so you can better see it. And it's nice and big spark. Well,
If nothing helps, I will try and rotate this ring, as I think it is the iron trap for the, well, this gun. So I'll let you watch the screen and I'll turn the iron trap all. Let me adjust the brightness so I wouldn't screw it up. Well, we don't have happiness, but we have something. And now it fades, so probably I'm moving it backwards. Fades, so it should be somewhere around here. Wow. We got the light! Honestly, I never thought I would get here, and the tube is bright, so, but focus isn't really good. But the light is like very bright and watchable, I hope. Let's try and adjust horizontal, and it makes it dimmer, so presumably the high voltage affects it. Let's try contrast. It does something, but the controls are dirty, it seems. Well, let's just don't touch it for now. I need the backing to reference it. But we have a light! The horizontal frequency is all over the place right now, and I jiggled this tube, this one, and now the line is sharp. Well, as sharp as it can get, I think, without changing the caps, and like I can adjust brightness of it. I'll probably disable the horizontal and high voltage part of it, and I'll tackle the vertical sweep, so we would know if it works. Also, the amp is kinda working, and the tuning also. Seems like it does something. And although the frequency is a little bit off, the line seems to be stable. Well, I'll probably deal with all it later. But I quite like this line, this bright line. And it has full deflection also. Also, let's see what it does when it's turned off. Cool. Let's do it again. Nice. Well, what I took for unfocused beam is just working vertical. It's just so collapsed. I'm touching the vertical height right now, and you can see how it shrinks and expands. And this is the hold. So I think I'll get some new tubes for it, because the TV technician, like the really old one, say that the 6N1P tubes are very unreliable because of the two heaters configuration. So let me get those
too. So I checked the voltages on the vertical generator lamp, no, oscillator. It's like 6 and 1p, and it has TBK, transformator blocking кадровый, like blocking transformer, and one side of it seems to be open. The side from the 6 lug to the like other stuff is okay. It rings something about 350 ohms, and this side is kinda dead. So we traced the leads to this cap. This is 0.05 microfarads, and as you can see, here it is 0.05, and the other side is just ground. So let's try to check it. I will attach one side of the multimeter to the ground, and let's try to measure any resistance. So nothing, open loop. I'm scratching on the cap just so you can see it's not a dirt. And if we check from the other side of this cap, so it's right here, we should have something around 250 kilo ohms on this one, and somewhere about from 12 ohms to 100 kilo ohms on this one. So around 2 with something hundreds here, and yes, we have it. So it seems like transformer is no good, blocking transformer, and fortunately it seems it's not that hard to detach from the chassis. It just has 4 bent flanges in here and 4 wires. I probably need to snap off this wire because it's welded, not soldered to the chassis, and then this wire, and this wire. I would need to, well, they're color coded, so I don't even need to like code it, mark it. So this one is green, this one is blue, and this one is God knows what color that is. Maybe black? No, it's another green, but deeper green. Well, maybe this one needs to be marked. And this one is black. Yes? Well, yes, this one is black. And they are all getting through this opening. Well, nothing to it, just to do it. I'm tearing it apart, and this one seems to be welded, not soldered. So I'll probably just cut it somewhere here and then reattach it later. And honestly, it's even not a broken half. Broken half is these two. So it's unfortunate, but well, what you gonna do? I took the transformer off, and it seems to be potted, but since it was potted in well, 50s, it's starting to fail. So I'll probably can just lift it off if I'm accurate, if I'm careful enough. So yes, and as you can see, there is no posts, the wires are just wired inside. Probably somewhere here they snapped, so right here on the inside. I'll try to record the insides if I can get it off. Well, if I can't, I'll probably desolder one of the caps from the side. I kinda got it outside this can, and what interesting, it is not a wax, so it's more like paraffin, the stuff the candles are made from, so just crumbles. It's not supple anymore. I cut it open, and this is 2 windings, and I don't see any break in them, like where they connects to the wires. But this one, you will not able to see it, but it's kind of green where it is jumps inside of the transformer. So I'll probably dig a bit further in. Maybe it rotted somewhere here. Well, it doesn't look like all that different, but I found the break right where it enters the coils. So right here, and I have about maybe 2 or 3 millimeters of wire to solder it on, and I tried to stick it in, but well, the wire is stuck, but it doesn't make contact, so I don't know how it's stuck, how it hanging in there. You can see soldering joint here, and like from here, from the solder joint to the other side, it has 600 ohms, and the other side is 300 ohms. So there is probably a live coil in there, so it's not broken, it's just here. But I can't get continuity from this to the end of the wire, and I like spent probably 30 to 40 minutes trying to do it, so I'll take a break and return to it a little bit later. Now you can see the one is not like the others, but I couldn't find any finer like wire, so it will do. And I melted some of the paraffin onto the transformer. I think it was used just to dampen this thing, so it wouldn't rattle that much, like it rattles at 50 Hertz. Well, it should. And now it has a connection from this wire to that wire, that one. It has something around 700 ohms. I can't show it to you because, well, I'm a human and I have only 2 hands, and a phone isn't like really, well, you can see why I can't do it. I don't really know how to attach leads to that small wires. I wouldn't like to do it the way they did it, like just wrap around and plonk it. But maybe there is no other way. I can just drill a hole and attach it here. So yeah, probably will do the same as they did. And yes, it fits back into its shell. So let's install it and see if we have some workage now. And now, 45 minutes later, I reinstalled it.
I soldered on a new connection to the chassis. At the negative point I soldered back the snipped wire and reconnected this post. So let's see if we have some resistance now on this cap. And yes, we do. So there is one question left. Will we have a sufficient vertical deflection now? I'll probably cut the warming time from the final video. Well, it's definitely a deflection. So let's try and turn some. It's a strange behavior, honestly. Some caps must be shot, or maybe the amplifier tube, like this one. But we have some deflection now. Let's see if brightness would make happiness. Well, it's a bit brighter, but not that bright. And we can see retrace lines. Its vertical size, linearity, oh shoot, this one is frequency, this one is vertical size, and this one is linearity. So let's try and put a signal to it. This is pretty beat up. This is LASP teletest. It's like a pattern generator plus a digital voltmeter and well, not really just a voltmeter. It can measure ohms resistance too, so kind of multimeter. It can do checkboard, lines and other stuff. It has black and white or color. It can invert. It can automatically cycle through all the modes. It can operate on first channel, on second channel, and when combining you get some another channel. I think it's 6, channel 6 would be. And this is for changing the range of meter. And since the first owner was a TV technician, it was well used and abused. You can see how dirty it was. Like this part I cleaned, and the faceplate is like it was originally when I got it. I got it for around 10 bucks, I think, plus or minus. It wasn't all that expensive, I mean. Let's assemble it and then try it out. The TV I'm using for testing this thing is familiar to you, Shilialis 16TB403D. It's post-Soviet Latvian-made television, but well, it was made on the same manufacturing capacities as the Soviet used. And also, this TV test pattern generator has a pass-through connector on the cat. Yes. On the power plug. So you can probably power something not all that hungry through it. Let me see what it says here. 6 amps, 250 volts. So maybe even some color TVs. Oh. Let's plug it in and see what we can see. I plugged the output of TV pattern generator to the VHF antenna input on the Shulalis, so it's not very convenient to do with one hand. Please wait. Well, seems like such old design is not really supposed to work with more modern Soviet prongs, so it will be dangling here. Let's get here out of the way. Well, and now we'll plug this dangerous contraption into the power. And I heard some activity from a TV. It seems like it was on. Yes, it was. Let's try and turn on the teletest. And it's right now on a resistance measurement. It can measure AC. And now it says it's 0.0589. It can do 20, 200, 1000 or 300 AC volts. And also it can do DC. Well, let's try and tune it. It works on VHF, as I said. Let's try and find where the channel is. And it seems like it's right here. No, more like here. Checkerboard. Straight vertical and horizontal lines. Gray screen, I don't know. I don't know why you would want it. Another gray screen. Don't know. And vertical lines. Also, if I put it in color mode, you can see, or you can't. Can you? Picture becomes more noisy, and also I can invert it, but I don't know. Hard to tell on a black and white set. Let's try auto. Will it do anything? It did something, but what it did, I don't know. Let's try and it has dirty controls. I need to clean them. Let's see, maybe we can bring the other modes in. It had something. Dots. Well, it clearly needs cleaning. Let me try and clean it, and I'll be right back. Seems like the high voltage output tube makes those noises. Like you can see, it glows blue at the base when I touch the antenna wire, like right now. And also we have stable picture right now, and it's not bright, but for dark room it's like all right picture. Let's try different, and you can hear it beeps. It's a fine tune. And this is contrast. Funny how it starts roll on a low contrast, but then it comes back. Well, let's try another test pattern. The grid. It's a bit noisy, but I think we can fix it with a little bit of caps changing size, linearity, hold, and I reviewed some old footage, and I can clearly see that I didn't put the burn-in here. It was already there when I started. So it's like extremely watchable right now, and all I did is I revert all the modification and just put the whole half rectified DC to the tubes. Like it has 60 volt over voltage on them, and these are old tubes. I didn't want to sacrifice new ones, so I changed them back. Well, we will not watch a TV in the direct light, but without it, I'd say it's a pretty good result for this thing. Shenga could do it better and I think faster, but with his help and help from some other my friends, we achieved this, and I'm not encouraging you to do it. I'm an idiot, I can do it, but you shouldn't. Vertical tubes, high voltage horizontal tubes, the IF and tuner tubes, and it's all without caps, I mean the shields, so maybe it would have less noise if I installed them. You know, it's perfectly watchable. Not in a bright lit room, like if you put light to it you couldn't see anything, but in a moderately lit room, like if I lit my second lamp, it's perfectly good. I mean, it's repaired, not fully, of course, but it looks good,
and I adjusted the centering magnets. It has two on the back, like one goes from left to right up corner, and the other does the opposite, I think. So it had a little bit of dark bend in here, and now the volume is shifted to the left. I don't know what this is about. Maybe it because of unshielded tubes. This line could very well be from the high voltage cage open and the tubes not shielded. But I like how it looks. And it's not on the full contrast. What this is full contrast, but on the full brightness. This is fine tuning. Something ain't quite right in the radio channel still. But it has some caps, electrolytic type, I can change, so maybe I should get to doing this. And this is what I'm using to modulate signal to the TV. This is a PAL version. It can do channels 1 through 57 and cable channels 1 through 42. This is a microprocessor unit. It uses display to show you what channel it's set on and some other settings. It can adjust video and audio modulation and overall strength of the signal. This is the connector for antenna. I made a little pigtail connector just so I can connect ordinary antenna to it. I also have this. It's like the same thing, but for one it is crap. It doesn't really work that well as this. I don't know why. I tried to crimp down on the inner ring and on the outer ring also, but it doesn't hold the cable that well, and it constantly loses connection. So this is much better. It is the same idea, but in little cable form. Getting back to this box, it can accept any composite video and any audio into it, and also it can add this to existing antenna connection, so you can tune to some station and overlay something on top of it. It's a cute little thing, and it cost me around 10 or 12 bucks, brand new, because nobody needs that anymore for CCTV applications. It's all digital IP cameras and such. It was brand new. I just swapped the plug. It was unnecessary in the hindsight, but well, I already did it, so
которая благодаря стереофонии обеспечивает чистоту и естественное звучание. И несмотря на то, что эта аппаратура сложная и довольно дорогая, покупательский спрос на нее сегодня удовлетворяется далеко еще не полностью. Например, магнитофонная приставка высшего класса «Маяк 001», стереорадиола «Виктория 003», стереофонический электрофон «Аллегро 002». Из новинок, поступивших в этом году, очень популярна магниторадиола «Музыкальный центр «Мелодия 106». Хочется также порадовать любителей музыки еще одной новинкой, которая начинает уже поступать в продажу. Это недорогая, переносная, современно оформленная магнитола V260 Sigma, которая обеспечивает запись и воспроизведение звука, а также прием передач в 9 диапазонах.
And it seems like we lost high voltage. Well, there is still video, but as you can see, both of the lamps, I mean damper and driver, are glowing. I don't know. High voltage before the rectifier is here. Maybe you can see it better. Now.
So, regarding the no high voltage problem, I tried to change the damper tube just because one person who deals with tube equipment told me to do so. In his experience, they are not really reliable, but it doesn't make difference. So I tend to believe that the flyback is no good, and upon further look, I think it's not really good looking. Maybe it was manufactured that way, but maybe it just melted. So I got myself another flyback. So it's essentially the same flyback, but a little bit newer model. So it should be a drop-in replacement, and I sourced it locally, which is very interesting in my opinion. I was very lucky, and also it seems to be a new old stock. Like, previous owner wanted to use it and tinned some of the connectors, but others, like factory, hopefully you can see it. So let me change flyback and we will see if it helps any. It's a nightmare to get it out, so I tried to desolder the wires first and then unscrew it, but it was too cramped in here, so I needed a bit more vertical space, so I undid it. But even this way I can't really fit my iron and hands to unwind the wires from it. So I don't know, maybe I will resort to snipping and splicing the wires here. I wouldn't like to do it, but well. It was a nightmare to get it out. Old crusted solder didn't want to melt, and the short wires just hard to deal with altogether. But now I got it, and I marked each and every wire, as you can see. I switched to using paint marker down the line, and those ones, one with the dot is closer to me and one without it is towards the front. So let's take a look to add the flybacks and see if they are compatible. And here they are. This is the old one. As you can see from the tag, it was made in May of 59. It has a stamp, and the model is TVS-A, TVS-A, and the new one also has a stamp, shield paper sticker, and it is also TVS-A. A little bit different style, but it still should be essentially the same model as the original one. And as you can see, nobody changed the flyback in this TV, because the tube and caps and most of the tubes was from 59. What's fascinating, the high voltage winding is open on this one. Usually they short internally, but this one seems to be open. Wow. Let's try and check how are the flyback doing. I already checked it, but and as you can see, if I hold it steady, there is some resistance. Old solder is not making good contact with my leads, and I probably should need to change leads to a pointer one, though that just ain't good no more. And sorry for my voice, I am doing it in very early hours of the morning. So yes. And this is flyback complete assembly. So I just changed the shielding of this wire. It was rotten away, and somebody threw a layer of insulation tape on it. So I just thought I change it to this. It's not high voltage rated, but it's not a high voltage part, I think. So it would be okay. This one I just resoldered on new lug. And I tightened the high voltage anode wire down with the suction cup and everything. And I threw a couple of zip ties just to strain relief it even more, although it has a strain relief here. On this side I already installed the high voltage rectifier, because it's easier to do while it on the air open like this. It's not the most convenient thing to change inside the TV. So we'll need to install it, and check if we had a spark. If we have a spark, yeah. I'm pretty excited, actually, to do it. Well, I hope I hooked it up right. Yep, right, just hooked up. Right. Let's populate tubes and see if we have any high voltage now. I reinstalled and soldered back all the connections on the transformer, and now we are ready to power it on and see if we have any high voltage. I just undid suction cup for easier access to a high voltage, so like this. We should have a spark here, and now I will power it on. Let's see. The tube is glowing. These two are also lit. Well, let's wait for a horizontal to start, and we will see if we have anything. I'll probably come back when it started. It's kinda taking a long time to heat up. I can hear it running right now, so it's isolated. Let's check if we have anything. Yep. Now we have high voltage here. Let's turn brightness up a little bit. Full the way, honestly, not a little bit. And we have video. Vertical is kinda jacked up, but we can do something about it. Well, let me try and readjust it, but the transplant seems to be working. Now we have high voltage, and we got a picture. We even can fine-tune it. Probably the audio carrier is well, out of tune with my test equipment right now. And strongest video not via the cleanest audio. So you can hear the best audio is somewhere here, and it has very dim display here. But if we just move a little bit off the audio, we get a much more clearer video. So probably need to adjust that, or maybe no, cranking the RF levels is not helping. But now we can recase it, I think. And also it has the same little problem on the bottom. It's a bit rolled over, like, you can see what I mean. And the whole vertical is a bit jittery. But you aren't really supposed to judge about tube TV before heating it up, so it will probably die or rectify this problem on itself. And I can modulate video to it once more. It's not as bright as video makes you believe, but it's watchable. I can see it. And in darkly lit room, or even at night, it would be just perfect. And also you can hear buzz, it's because of all the text. If I power it off, you can only hear the high voltage doing its thing. So for some reason it does that on this screen. It ain't supposed to roll, but it looks after. Maybe low burst signal. I don't know. Turning fine tune. And also it has a tone knob, so I can muffle this sound or make it obvious. But it affects all audio, you know. So I would better have clear audio with a little bit of a buzz. I also, let's turn it off. I also cleaned the area under the suction cup and stick it in, so it's nice and firm here. And actually the spacer is very useful. It now spaces out high voltage from the transformer. So in my opinion it turned out very nice. And I was very lucky to find the transformer, I mean flyback, locally. It's not something you could find anywhere. I just love how it looks. So professional and safe. I can touch it. And I know that the tube is storing the charge right now. So it's not like it discharged or anything right now. Let's just reiterate what I'm using to actually display an image on this TV. So it's just a cheap Chinese TV box, which allows me to output composite signals, and CCTV modulator. It used to work in like surveillance applications and such. It's usually used to modulate signals to TVs from cameras and such. So we are modulating on second channel, PAL of course, and let's turn the TV on. It takes some time to warm up and for horizontal to start. So let's wait a bit. It was recently powered on, so it came rather quickly. But usually it takes about half a minute or so.
Oh, the irony of using a cell phone to capture this in 4K. If only the people that use these TVs and built them and serviced them at the time would have imagined such a thing. Anyway, yeah, back here again. I'm back here doing some work, and the last time I was here I grabbed a Zenith TV to resurrect, and video is quite popular. It was a fun video. Zenith comes back alive real easy. But I checked the CRT in this one, and the CRT was good in this one. God, I love that. I love that bass. And this one is similar situation to the Zenith, where the wires are cut. This one actually looks like it's in worse shape. All the wires are cut, the knobs are missing, a bunch of the vacuum bulbs are missing, but it's interesting. I wonder how this happened. Anyway, a few differences. This is a series string set. There's no power transformer, so that takes one more thing that could possibly prevent a resurrection out of the picture. A lot of guys like power transformer sets, but the reality of it is that that's another element of reliability issues. It's hard to replace at this point. But yeah, I think I have no idea who makes this. But yeah, notice the difference in the chassis size. Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't a clue who makes this. I'm sure somebody watching this recognizes it. Anyway, I think I'm going to grab this and take it home, and we'll make a resurrection video. I'm sure it's not as... Oh, here we go. It's a silver tone. Silver tone. What's that say? Silver tone something. Stand by. Can I pause this? Okay, it is a silver tone Metropolitan. Yeah, it's Metropolitan, all right. So anyway, I think we're going to do a Metropolitan resurrection. I will get back to the Zenith. I'm going to do the vertical circuit in the Zenith. There was a lot of interest in the Zenith, people sending me messages wanting parts of it or wanting the whole thing. And I can't reply to YouTube messages. I reply, but the replies never get received. There's something wrong with the YouTube private messaging feature on my channel. So don't feel like I'm ignoring you if you sent me a message and I didn't reply. It doesn't work. And in good shape. So yeah, I haven't decided what to do with it. With shipping prices, shipping this stuff is really not really that feasible, just the weight and the size alone. But the hell? Put it over here next to the sodium sulfide. Now that's what you call baked. That is baked.
Well, although that was baked, mine was near mint condition. So thank you for watching, and it still has a couple of issues. For example, when it heats up enough, the vertical starts to roll over and linearity is lost at the top, and also it has a bit unstable tuning circuit. it didn't manifest yet, but sometimes it loses fine-tune, so yes. But as you can see, it is perfectly readable. Well, I don't know if you can read it, but I can. Bye! Let's take a look at new LED bulbs. I don't think they are really interesting, but it seems like you don't have them anymore, like they are banned by the government. But in Russia they are still produced and sold, and there is nothing wrong with it over here. This one is 60 watts, 655 lumens, made in 2021. This one is 95 watts and 1235 lumens. This one is 200 watts, don't know how many lumens. Maybe it doesn't count as light bulb anymore, and now it's a heater. This one is rated for several purrs and one meow. Now this is a cat video, and this one is rated for, let me see, this one is rated for 300 watts. And is there any information about how bright it is? There is not. I don't know. Yep, that's right. It's because this is not a light bulb, this is a heater. Теплоизлучатель различного назначения. Universal heater, or heat, how do you call it? Heat producer. Why would you need to know how much lumens it produces? It's a heater, it's not a light bulb. Sorry, I got distracted. And this one is a Soviet light bulb. As you can see by the construction, it's a little bit different. This one is rated for 400 watts. Should be rated at this. I don't really know. It has no markings on it. As you can see, the glass here is like sloped, and there's an elongation on the other one. So this one wouldn't fit in my lamp. It would interfere with that metal collar. Let me demonstrate it for you. We'll install that heater and switch it on. As you can see, it heats up and produces some light. I don't know why. It's a heater. It's not a light bulb, but it still does. And if we try to stick this one, it doesn't go in. So we need a little bit of modification with time appropriate Soviet screwdriver. We will just barely untighten those two bolts or screws, and now we can remove it and install this beast. Kitten, it's not for you. And this is like really hot. I can barely touch it. But it's cool. It's stacked. Let's do it once more. I would like to show you a kilowatt one, but I kinda don't have it right now. But there is one for sale on the internet, and it like costs a couple of bucks, basically. Let's look at my cat a little bit more. Her name is Shpulka. It's Bobbin on Russian. It doesn't emit light, but it's still warm. It's a kind of warmth that warms your soul, not your body. Cute and fuzzy feeling.